I know the assumption out there is that this Kentucky team is Otega Oweh's team, but I think Kentucky might have a new leader in the clubhouse.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, I think the Cats might have a new leader in the clubhouse. We're going to dive into that as well as the platoon. Guys, the talk is officially back, and you can take it out on Otega Oweh. Don't take it out on me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to tell you what he said about the platoon. You can cry about it to him if you want to. And then to wrap up the show, Kentucky can shoot. Let's stop worrying about it. I think Mark Pope had some really good things to say about how they are shooting the ball in practice. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can download the app today. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. And if you are watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. And if you are listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. We are trying to get to 20,000 subscribers here before the start of the college basketball season. Probably not going to happen, but at least we're going to get pretty close. And I really do appreciate every single one of you that has subscribed. We're still trying to get to that goal, so let's see if we can get there. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Kentucky, I think it's pretty clear that this is Otega Oweh's team with the way that he was able to lead the squad through some really tough contests, especially late in the year, with the way that he kind of took over things in some really tight contests, the way that he showed heroics against his former squad in two different games. I think that a lot of people have been saying, yeah, this is Otega Oweh's team. This is his squad to lead, but after the Field of 68 went and had their whole shindig with the Wildcats during their practice, had a live stream while their practice was going on, interviewed a bunch of different players, interviewed Pope, kind of dove into what this roster construction is going to be, how this team's going to look, asked a lot of different really interesting questions, got a lot of really good answers. I think that one of the most interesting takeaways that Jeff Goodman himself had was actually after they left. I believe they were driving to their next location. They're doing like this tour around college basketball for a bunch of different schools. And he talked about Jaland Lowe, about how he was the most impressed with Lowe amongst all of the different players that he got to watch. And here was the direct quote. And this is a little bit of a lengthy quote, but it's going to get to a very interesting piece or take that we actually talked about a couple of episodes ago before this actually this came to fruition. So here's the quote from Jeff Goodman. I'm just watching him, and he just looked different. Obviously, he's on a team now that can contend for a title, Final Four, whatever, where at Pittsburgh, he was the best player and kind of an inefficient player because he had to do too much. Now he doesn't need to, and you can see it on the court, just the way that he's playing with those other guys. Honestly, Otega wasn't on the court, but it looked like it was Jaland Lowe's team today. That's what I felt like watching this team. That was the best player on the court. That was the player that's going to make sure everybody's happy, make all of the right decisions. He's not going to have to score, 20 a night. He's got so much around him. So I just feel like, to be honest, it might be to this team, watching this, he might be the most important piece. Does Kentucky have a new leader here? I think, in a sense, yes. I think it's natural to Jaland Lowe's position. No duh, as the point guard, to be the leader of the squad, to be the leader of the team. But you also are hearing about how vocal he is in practice. He seems like a really awesome person to be around and a really awesome player to be around. Just based off the interviews that he's been given, he seems like a really happy, energetic, kind person. I'm really, really excited to see how that translates with this team for them to rally around him because of his personality, because of his position. I think Kentucky's got a new leader here. In a sense, yes. But also at the same time, that doesn't mean the team can't have multiple leaders. I still think that Otega is definitely a leader of this squad. Absolutely. I think that Aberdeen, because of his experience, can step up in certain spots and be a leader. But this is a new player here that I think that now we're starting to get closer to the college basketball season, and a lot of different outlets are starting to talk about more and more and more. And we talked about it on, I don't remember if it was yesterday's show, but it was like 2 episodes ago, where I said that Jaland Lowe's impact on this team is going to be virtually impossible to like exactly predict, but there's such a high floor such a high ceiling and such a low floor, I should say. It's a very volatile range of things that could happen for Jaland Lowe, but his possible impact is so insanely high that you have to take into consideration what he's doing in this backcourt for Kentucky, not just in terms of distributing the ball and being a leader, but efficiency. If he is a more efficient scorer, and Pope believes he's going to be, Otega believes he's going to be, everybody thinks he's going to take this massive jump. If he does do that, this is a national championship contending squad without a doubt. Without a doubt. For Goodman to watch him and say, I think that this is his team. For the reports coming out of summer practices saying, look, I think that Jaland Lowe is going to kind of be able to run the show here, and he's been looking really good. Steady is kind of the thing that people have been saying. Kentucky's got a new leader here, and they should be pretty excited about it. Really feeling good about what Goodman and other people are saying about Jaland Lowe as he kind of takes over here in this backcourt as a leader. Love it. All right, we're going to continue to break this one down. More stuff from the Field of 68's trip to Kentucky. Otega Oweh thinks that the Wildcats can platoon. I know some of you guys don't like that. Get over yourself, because it's a player now saying it. We're going to dive into that here in just a second. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than literally anyone else. And it's from footwork to breath work. You know, athletes, they sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every single model. You can literally feel Japanese craftsmanship in every single detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. Like our players, we sweat every single detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Kentucky, I think Cutter Boley delivered in a big way against Eastern Michigan. Not the most perfect quarterback performance, and frankly, I don't think that Cutter's blowing anything out of the water here, but he sure as hell delivered when it came to making throws, I should say, downfield. I mean, Kentucky hasn't been able to do that all season long. It was refreshing. He came through, no hesitance, no delay. And if you've been watching this over the course of the last, or I should say the Eastern Michigan game, if you've been watching it over the last season when he made those explosive plays against Texas, his performance I don't think was necessarily a fluke. The kid can actually spin it, and he's on a little bit of a streak here. And just like with Boley delivering for Kentucky, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. You can stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, continuing along here on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would love it if you did so. Kentucky got a new leader here in Jaland. Really like what I'm hearing about him. Expecting him to take a huge jump for Kentucky this season. The Wildcats can platoon again. I know. Over the course of the history of this channel, every single time I have talked about the platoon, I have gotten comments that are acting like I am requesting that the Wildcats commit a felony by suggesting they can run the platoon. Not that they should, by the way. I want to be clear. I don't think I've ever said that Kentucky should do it. Do the 5 in, 5 out, rotate that. I've always said that here's how they could do it. And a lot of people don't like that for whatever reason. I don't get it. It doesn't click for me. And, I think we talked about earlier this offseason about how well Kentucky's got the depth again to where I think that now better than ever, they can platoon. And I went through and I said, here's how it would look. And I gave you a blue team, I gave you a white team, and we still had 4 players left over. Count them. 4. Get the screenshot. Actually, that's a little bit better. 4 for some of my friends. We had 4 players left over, and it's a realistic thing that Kentucky could do. Will they do it? I don't think so. But Otega Oweh also believes that Kentucky can do a platoon sub. Here's his quote, and you can deal with this however you want to emotionally if you're one of those people that hates this. Quote, we're super deep. We can do a platoon sub. We can go from 1 all the way to 13. We're super deep. These guys are hungry. Everyone has a chip on their shoulder. Individually, if you go down the line, everyone has something to prove this year. I feel like when you have a team like that, it's a great recipe. They can do a platoon sub, according to Otega Oweh. Here's how it would look if Kentucky did do it. Not when they do it, if they did hypothetically do this. All right, guys? Making sure I'm using the verbiage that you can get down with. For those of you that don't have a problem with this, by the way, this is not directed at you. This is direct towards people that have acted like we are calling for someone to have their house burned down whenever we suggest the platoon. Heaven forbid. We run a little 5-in, 5-out hockey man sub. Here's how the platoon would look, though. Blue team, Jaland Lowe is at point guard. Denzel Aberdeen's also at guard. Otega Oweh is at a guard/small forward. Diabate is at your 4, and Garrison's at your 5. Hey, look, it's the starting 5 that Kentucky essentially was teasing earlier this week during some, I believe, a photo shoot that they were having. That's the starting 5 that they're probably going to go with to start the year. Look, that's the exact same starting 5 that I had whenever I suggested earlier this offseason, hey, if Kentucky was doing a platoon, here's how it would look. That's the blue team. The white team. Colin Chandler's your point guard. He splits time with Jasper Johnson, who can also handle on-ball duties. So those two are in your backcourt. Cam Williams is your small forward. He's on the wing. Andrea Yelovich is your power forward. Jaden Quaintance is your center. The most interesting thing about the white team here is I think there's a lot less positional versatility, 1 through 5. Now, Jasper and Colin can can tween 1 through 2, basically. But Cam Williams is pretty much a small forward. Yelovich is the most power forward-ish player that you have on this team. And JQ, I think, is the best center that you have on this team. That's your blue team. That's your white team. By the way, just want to reiterate, will Kentucky do this? No, they're not going to do this. What they will do is they will mass sub. They won't sub 5 guys out at the same time. They will sub 3 to 4 guys, and they will try and fill the game with as many possessions as possible where they can get guys in, get guys out, keep everybody fresh, and throw different lineups and matchups at you. That's how Kentucky's going to do this. And the reason that we know that they're going to throw that at you is because that's what they were trying to do last year. On top of this, you don't just have these 10 players. You also have Malachi Marino, a high-floor 5-star center, Braden Hawthorne, who I think needs to play some early in this non-con slate to see what you've got with him, because if you add some more muscle, and he's already gained 15 pounds this offseason, if you add some more muscle, that's a dangerous matchup there. Trent Noah is also someone that will get playing time this year as one of the best shooters on this roster. And then Reese Potter, I don't think he's going to play, but he's somebody that you can throw out there if you want to. I truly do believe Otega is right. Kentucky can go 1 through 13. They have insane depth, and they could do a platoon sub. They have the ability to do it. And I think they're going to go pretty deep. I think they're going to rotate guys in and out like crazy. That's all I wanted to say. Kentucky's got the ability to do it. If you have an issue with that, I would like for you to explain in depth why you have a problem instead of just freaking out in the comments below. At LockedOnUK on Twitter is where you can find me. If you like this, you can also articulate your opinion as well. By the way, I'm not sitting here telling you that a platoon would be the best idea in the world. I'm not even sitting here telling you that rotating 3 or 4 guys out every other stoppage is a great idea. I'm just sitting here telling you that's the reality. This is what we're going to deal with. That's all I got to say. Kentucky has enough shooting. And it's about time somebody said it, and Mark Pope finally did. Before we dive into that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, which I know I have, Monarch is for you. They do the heavy lifting, and you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get a smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Now that we've gotten the platoon out of the way and everybody's kind of been able to give their take on it, which I'm sure that a lot of you will in the comments below, let's talk about the Kentucky Wildcats having enough shooting on the roster. It has been a question of mine this offseason as to whether or not Kentucky has the ability to shoot the ball well. It is not whether or not they can replicate exactly what they had a season ago. Can they be good at shooting the basketball? Last season, Florida won a national title being a slightly above average three-point shooting team. The reason that they won it with the offense that they had, not shooting the three as well, is because they had hero ball from Walter Clayton Jr. in the late stages of the season. He got hot. And then on top of that, they were able to grab offensive rebounds better than almost anybody in the country, and they maximized possessions. That's what Kentucky's going to try and do this year. But Pope believes that they've got legitimate shooters on this roster, and it's about time we've started to see them come around. Here's the quotes. There's a lot of stuff here. Pope said, "We are tracking every shot all the time, everywhere in practice all summer long. And if you looked at three of our guys, if you looked at it here, our guys were in week 3 of the summer, you might have been like, woof, I'm not sure if we can break that record. And last week's work on court, we had 6 guys above 70% from 3. We were dancing around with 2, trying to get a 3rd earlier in the summer. Now we have a 6th and a 7th that's been dancing around 69, 68% for like 3 straight weeks." So what he's saying there is in practice, week 3 of the summer, they weren't shooting very well. They were kind of slow to get started. And they track literally every single shot that goes up from these kids, especially from 3. Last week, they had 6 different kids shooting 70% or better from 3. And I'm assuming that's not during any serious 5-on-5 action. That's during just practice where nobody's really guarding you, if at all, right? Now they have a 6th and a 7th that's dancing around 69, 68% for 3 straight weeks. Kentucky has shooters. Colin Chandler, Jasper Johnson, Otega Oweh, Jaland Lowe, Cam Williams, definitely. And then Yelovich, I think, is also somebody else that you need to look out for. Kentucky has Trent Noah. Kentucky's got guys that can spray it. And Pope talked about how we're going to have 77 guys shooting over 70%. That's translating to games. It always has. And these guys are earning it. The most interesting quote here from the back half is here it is. "We've had really humble guys that have been willing to take our very basic but important shooting cues and actually incorporate them in what we do. Jasper Johnson, for the first time, was a 70. I've always talked about him as the most dangerous scorer. Wait until this guy's consistent. Wait until he's putting up 75s every week. Then it's a different story. Then it's like, this guy's going to kill you. I'm so proud of him to take his natural instincts and be so disciplined to put up a 70 for his first week of the whole summer. Now I'm telling you, he's going to roll through 70s. He's going to live there, and it's because he's willing to be disciplined. We're going to shoot the ball, and we're going to shoot it great this year, and it's going to be fun." Jasper and Cam, I think, are probably your 2 most explosive three-point shooters that you have on this roster. If Jasper can find some consistency, which he was finding it with the U19 Team USA team, shot like, 41% from deep or something like that. It was really solid. If you can find some consistency for him as a spot-up guy, that really does help you coming off of the bench. I think Colin Chandler also has the ability to really show what he's capable of, not just from three, but from long range. He is a very confident shooter, and I like that. Trent as well. Kentucky's got a lot of different guys on this team that can spray it. We're not talking enough about what Cam Williams can do, man. After his freshman year at Tulane shooting 41%, and it was not a fluke. It was not a fluke. Watch how he was getting those buckets. Kid was confidently shooting it from deep. Love it, love it, love it. Let's buy in. If Pope says we're going to shoot the ball great and we're going to shoot it great this year, it's going to be fun, awesome. If you expect the defense to be marginally better than it was a season ago, if you expect it to be slightly better at protecting the rim or even just better at protecting the rim with the three-point shooting that this team might have, it's going to be lights out. It's going to be very, very, very tough to stop this squad. I'm trying to, in my mind, and I was talking to somebody about this last night, I'm trying to, in my mind, not get myself overly hyped about this year's team. I'm trying to spot the inefficiencies, the potential problems, right? I think that ball handling is going to probably be one. I think that turnovers might be another. I think that rim protection can still be questionable. I think that how Kentucky guards at the point guard position is going to be big. Otega praised Jaland Lowe's physicality and how he stepped up, but I don't necessarily know if I buy into that. There's a lot of different things that could be problems with the squad. But man, there's a lot of different things that this team could be really, really, really good at. I think they've got the right model here. I think they've got the right coach. They've got the right formula. I think this is going to be a really hard team to stop, and I'm super excited about that. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. Follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And of course, God bless.